hyperplanes to be drawn. So that is hyperplanes or the gutters. So as I mentioned, gutter is nothing but the boundary conditions we need to place it either side of the hyperplane. So in that sense, when we try to make this, so what we do is we try to draw the hyperplanes for this particular data set. So let us make another plot to understand that how the hyperplanes are being drawn and how are we trying to conclude this, or how are we trying to do the classification using SVM. So this is my x2, so this is my x1. Okay, so here we got some kind of one data set and another data set, but here I would like to have one more square, because I need to draw the hyperplane. This is another a block rectangle. Okay, so there are even the other kinds of the data sets what we have seen, which is circle. This is one more, one more, one more, one more, one more. So let me take one more here. Okay, so let me darken it because the differentiation we need to make it. So what we are trying to do here is, so the hard line, I mean we are trying to draw the hyperplanes. So how are we going to do the hyperplanes? So here the largest distance to the nearest data points we are trying to do it. So largest distance and the nearest data points. So in this classification what we are trying to make it is, okay, so the demo, I mean we are trying to do the two classes to be classified, and the best hyperplane that can be defined with the widest margin. So in that sense what we are trying to have it as hyperplanes to be drawn. So let me have one hyperplane here because the margin and even the larger the distance. Okay, so one I have drawn. Okay, this is one, and another one is the hyperplane. I'm not drawing very straight, but it should be straight because the optimal hyperplanes I'm trying to draw it, and even one more through scale if I draw it, so it comes something like this. Okay, so here the gutter and the optimal hyperplane is helping us to see what is the widest margin and how the support vectors can be defined to do the better classification for the largest distance to the nearest data points. So let me take another color so that the optimal, okay, 1 minute. Okay, so this is the thick line which I am trying to draw it in the yellow color, thick line. Okay, so this thick line is called as optimal hyperplane. Optimal hyperplane. Actually, this must be a dotted or a light colored lines which I have drawn it in the pink one. So these are called as actually the gutters. This one and this one. Gutters. And we need to compute, or we need to see visually that what is the range. So the widest range or the widest margin we can find it out. So let me put it in the other color. Okay, so the widest margin we need to find it out between the two gutters. Okay, so this is the widest margin. widest margin. So then we are trying to find it out, the support vector, support machine vectors, or the support vectors we call it as. So the dotted lines are the gutters, actually not the dotted lines. I could not draw it using the pen, the dotted lines. It is actually the pink colored one. So let me do once again. Let me take this and okay. So it was supposed to be dotted lines. Okay. So the dotted lines are the gutters on the sides of the two classes, because one is the square, is another classes, the circles. So the two classifiers we are supposed to make it, and I need to find out the gap between the gutters. So that's why we have drawn the one gutter which is the largest. Okay, here the largest distance to the nearest data point, the largest distance, the last square or the rectangle. So I have drawn one gutter, that is one boundary point, and here another gutter have been drawn. So there is a gap between the gutters, which is the maximum widest margin. So the classifier, the hyperplane is defined by only those points that falls on the gutter. So which are the points falls on the gutter? So this is the one point falling on the gutter. So this is another point falling on the gutter, and this one square or rectangle falling on the gutter. So the classifier is defined by only those points so that are falling on the gutters on both the sides. So these points are called actually the support vectors. So these points are called as the support vectors. So I'm just drawing it using the green colored one. So the points which are falling on the gutter. Okay, sorry. Let me take it once again. Okay, so these are called as support vectors. So what are support vectors? What are support vectors? Support vectors are nothing but those points. The classifier is defined with those points that fall on the gutters on the both the sides, and these points are called as support vectors. So which have been shown by the dark circled, the dark colored bold shaped circles, the two which is lying on one border line of the dotted line as a gutter, and another one is the thick solid square. So the rest of the data points are there in their classes only. So they are there. So these circles which are not darkened, so they are there in the class, and they are there in the class. These the squares, almost 7 squares, means to say that these are the data points that are there in their classes, that are irrelevant for defining the classifier. So this is very much relevant. So this is one relevant point. This is one relevant circle or the point. This is another circle as a relevant point, which is helping us to make the better classification to be done for the data set. Okay. So now mathematically we will try to define this. So let us assume that actually, so suppose we need to have a training data set. So the training data set comprising of n number of data points. So let us take n number of data points. So when I say that the two classes need to be considered always in support vector machine, so we take that capital X1, comma Y1, etc. means X2, Y2, X3, Y3, X4, Y4, then up to Xn or Xi, Yi for all I values ranging between 1 to n. Okay, so where xi's are representing the values, that is p value vector for the point I. So xi's are nothing but representing the p-value for the point I, p-value for the point I, and yi is being representing as a binary class value. So yi is its binary class value. And these values, the binary class values and the p-value for the point I in terms of xi's, that is x values, will be always ranging between +1, that is 1, or -1. So the value of this binary class could be a +1 or it could be -1. So there are always the two classes can be represented by this kind of SVM or support vectors can be computed. So with the values of 1 and -1. So there are two classes which are being represented by +1 and -1. So there are of two classes which will be represented by as 1 and -1. So +1, -1. Okay. So in this sense, we are trying to derive the support vector machine classifiers. So by assuming that the data is indeed the linearly separable data. Okay. So the classifier hyperplane is defined as a set of points. So where the subset of the training data set has to be considered to satisfy the equation. So what is that equation? We are going to get it for the support vector machine classifier is W dot x plus b equal to 0. W dot x plus b is equal to 0. So then what is this W? So W is nothing but the normal vector to the hyperplane. So it is a normal vector to the hyperplane. And we already know x value. Okay. So the margins, what it can be defined by the hyperplanes can be defined by the equation as W dot x plus b is equal to +1. So that is 1 because we know that only two values can be considered for the two classes. And one more equation, what we can write it as W dot x plus b is equal to -1. Okay. So the width of the hard margin can be found it out by 2 divided by modulus of W. 2 divided by modulus of W. So this is nothing but width W. Width of the hard margin. So hard margin means the thick line what I have been wrote. Okay. Hard margin. So in the W, that is normal vector values. So we are going to compute like this. So for all the points which are not there on the hyperplane. So here we could see. So there are points which are not there on the hyperplane. So there were some 5 circles here and there were some 7 rectangles or squares there. So all those points which are not on the hyperplane. So which are not on the hyperplane. So they will be very safely available or there in their own classes. Okay. So thus the y values will be either greater than 1, okay, for the point in the class 1, or it could be less than -1 with respect to the points of the class -1. Okay. So support vector machine algorithm finds the weights of the vectors W for the features. So such as there is a widest margin between the two categories, so which is being computed and given on the graph. So thus we can compute the support vector machine using these equations, which is nothing but a hill climbing process problem in a convex space. So we need to work it out to understand the important point here, the largest distance of the nearest data points. So this you need to understand and keep it in mind. So note it down. The working with the points which is nearest to the classifying boundary only. so not the other one. See, other points are not considered only. So this is one point. Okay, these two are been considered. All these are not considered, and all these are also not considered. Okay, so you can make an observation and note it down. So which can see the nearest to the classifying boundary only. So it reduces a lot of sharp number of data instances to work with the data set. And this SVM approach or support vector machine approach reduces its memory requirements for the computations, and it is also possible because of one method called as a kernel method. So one method called as kernel method. So what is this kernel method? Okay, so as we say, CPU is heart of the computer. So similarly, your kernel is the heart of your SVM. Kernel is the heart of your support vector machine algorithm. So heart of the support vector machine algorithm is the kernel method. So most of the algorithms, the kernel algorithms are, which is being based on optimization in the convex space and very much statistically well defined and founded. So what is this kernel again? So what does this kernel stands for? Okay, so kernel stands for core. Kernel stands for core, heart. Okay, or it could also be defined, or it could be treated as a germ in a fruit. Okay, so kernel methods normally operates using what is so called as kernel trick. Okay, so kernel methods operate using the kernel trick, and this kernel trick involves the computing and the working spaces within the boundary limits of the inner products only with the relevant pairs of the data points. So that you need to remember, no irrelevant data points will be considered, only with the relevant data points are supposed to be considered. Relevant data points. And these relevant data points are the data pairs of the data in the feature space. So in that particular space, we are going to take only the relevant data points. So they do not require to compute all the data in the high dimensional data space or the feature space. So only what is there on the hyperplane or what is there on the gutter or the boundaries what we have derived by drawing the hyperplanes, so that will be considered. So the kernel trick makes the algorithm so much less demanding in the computational and the memory resources because it uses less memory. Okay, the kernel method also got the functionalities called as it achieve very much by learning from the instances. Okay, so it will be learned from the instances, and they do not really apply some of the standard computational logics to all the features of each of the data point available in the space. So instead, they remember that what each training data set was there available, which is there on the boundary, which is there on the hyperplane. So what it is being associated with the weight representing the relevancy, and we see the even the margin also. So as what we have computed here or drawn like the widest margin available. So based upon the achievement of the objective only, so it is being considering. So that's why it is being called as instance based learning. So it has been called as instance based learning. Instance based learning it has been called as. Then the kernel trick makes also the algorithm very much less demanding and computational with the memory resources, as I mentioned. So kernel methods achieve this by the technique called as learning based on instances or learning from instances. So these do not apply to some of the standard computational logics of all the features in the space. Instead, it just remembers and it tries to find it out. So this kind of a learning called as instance-based learning, we call it as. So there are several various types of support vector machine models. So which are being included as, one is linear support vector machine or support vector model. Okay, so machine model. So linear one. Second one is polynomial. The third is random forest method, so that is RBF, and fourth one is sigmoid. Okay, so this is somewhat like how the human beings learn, especially about the domains and the broad sets of the features such as ethics. So we learn the lessons, we learn from the situations, we learn from the instances. Okay, and some instances are good for us to keep it and some are irrelevant, so we will discard. So the same thing happens even in the kernel structure. So the kernel structure also, we assign the highest high weights to the abnormal situations and very low weights to the normal situations, and the normal situations are almost completely which can be considered. Okay, so support vector machines have a lot of importance in the data mining and the data analytics scenario, so which is because of more flexibility. So support vector machines have evolved with more flexible and able to tolerate some of the amounts of misclassification. So the margin of separation between the two categories is done by the soft margining technique. So as against to the hard margin, so which we could see it. One dark line I have wrote as a hyperplane and the two dotted lines I have been represented. So this is the way the support vector machines are being used. So there are again the similar way a lot of advantages, disadvantages are there for even support vector machines. The main advantage or the main strength of the support vector machine is it will work well with the number of features is much larger than the number of instances. So it can work on the data sets with a huge feature space such as the spam filtering of the emails, where the large number of words are being are being used for the potential signifiers of the messages which are being defined in the spam mails. And a lot of other advantages also you can list it out for the SVMs. That is even the optimal decision boundaries is also very much linear, non-linear curve we can get it. And support vector machines transforms the variables which can be used to create the new dimensions which can help us to represent the classifiers in a linear functions of those the transformed dimensional data. So, and as I mentioned, support vector machines are very easy to understand, very easy to process, and it can be help us to create an easy to understand the linear classifiers. And by working with only a subset of the relevant data we are going to work with, the computations are being done very easily, and even the computationally it is very efficient. And SVMs are very much available for almost all in the data analytics tool set. So SVM is existing. So SVM as a technique, as I said, it has been the two classes, the two major constraints are there. So it works well with real numbers, and all the data points are in the dimensional space must be defined with the numerics only. So that is the implication. And it works only with a binary classification problem. So one can make a series of the support vector machines to get around with this kind of limitations. So support vector machines are having the loopholes or the implications in terms of disadvantages. So what I can say it as it is inefficient with respect to non-numerical data, or time-consuming process happens. So when the data is very large, and it does not work well with a lot of noisy data. So that thus the computations of the soft margins cannot be done it very easily. So SVMs even also not provide the probability estimations of the classification, and that is the confidence levels of classifying an instance. So it is applicable to certain kinds of the desired objective or the desired target to achieve, but it may not be suited for some kind of scenarios where it is not purely numerical or real time. I mean real kind of a data, means a floating point numbers, the real numbers what we are calling it about. So SVMs are mainly used for classifying, so that we need to note it as I mentioned. So this particular technique for classifying the high dimensional data into two classes, and it creates the hyperplanes with the largest amount of separation between the two classes. The classifiers are being made very much linear by transforming the original features of the input data into the new features. And SVMs are using a method called as a kernel method, because kernel method is the heart of the SVM, which is being used to learn from the specific instance, not from all the instances. So that too, those specific instances which are being close to the decision boundaries. And SVMs are used for text mining, and a lot of examples you can give it when it comes to text mining, such as spam filtering, outlier detection, etc. So this is about the brief discussion about the support vector meshing.